Here I am with the lovely Nyasha. Thank you so much for sitting with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Bibi.
So I'd love it if you could just briefly explain, what you're doing in life, where you are. So over to you.
All right. My name's Nyasha, like you said. I am currently based in Europe. I am in telecoms. And yeah, I've been here for about 3 years now.
Mm.
And of course, used to live in Zimbabwe, was a farmer, and that was a different life. But yeah, that's where I am at right now.
Yeah, wow. I know from farming life in Africa to telecommunications in Europe, that is a big jump. Yeah.
Big jump, believe me. Yeah,
So I know that when we first worked together, you went through my boundaries course,
of
and
course.
then you reached out to work with me one-on-one. Could you share, like, what was going on for you? What was in your mind at that time before you decided to work with me?
Well, I do recall my brother actually had told me a lot about his experience with his own life coach.
Hmm.
And I think for me, it was something that was a bit foreign. And I think once I saw some of your material going around, I thought this is a perfect opportunity just to see what it's about, maybe get some guidance. And yeah, and I think we really eased into it doing that course as well. It was about boundary settings, which was a lot. I think I needed that at that time in my life. Actually, it was very relevant. So I think going through that course made me understand how the life coaching is framed, and I wanted to see how that would work on a one-to-one basis.
Hmm. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then what was it that you were kind of struggling with that you thought right now is the time to get that one-on-one support?
I think it was just a general awareness that I always had goals. I always had things that I'd wanted to do, but they were very abstract.
Hmm.
And there were always that thing in the distance that you were like, I'll eventually get to it. And I was very aware that, you can constantly keep planning, oh, I'll do this in a year, in 3 months or whatever, without implementing, those incremental steps,
Hmm.
day to day, actions that lead to that end result. So I was very aware that time was going really fast and I was not really fulfilling a lot of the goals and, the dreams that I had. So that was pretty much where I was.
Okay. All right. So you were feeling uh, a bit of a sense of urgency, it sounds
Of course.
like
Yes.
desires and wanting to start moving forward.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right, amazing. And I mean, this is again quite common with most people, like the desire and then like lots of thinking and planning and wanting, but not always quite sure about how to quite move forward.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
All right. And while we were working together, because I know someone else that we both know who was also working with me got a
Yes.
promotion uh, while we were co in the coaching process. What can you say happened while we were also coaching in that time?
Yes, it was not something I imagined would be happening, but I think one of my main goals was centered around my career. I think it was one of our focus areas. And so I think talking about it and going through, the steps, of course, I had a different avenue. I thought this was going to play out in a different way. But I think going through the steps, talking it out, even having, moments where you imagine yourself in that position, I think that really created the conditions and the situation that ultimately led to this opportunity at work, which of course led to a promotion as well. So I think working through that, like I said, it wasn't in my, I did not imagine that it would end up being a promotion in that sense. But that attention to that aspect of my life and dealing with the belief systems that surrounded it, I
Mhm.
believe played a huge part into what happened. I'm
Yeah.
a huge believer of embodying what you want to be, even before the manifestation happened. So talking about it the way that we did really, really catapulted me into that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So just for those who are listening, Nyasha got a promotion and recruited from inside the company. Whereas initially, when we started talking together, and that was a focus, a career progression goal, was really about, yeah, preparing for the opportunity. And then, up the universe came with an internal opportunity. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so amazing. Okay, so that happened, which was great. Um, Through the coaching process, what did you find was either most challenging or most helpful?
Hmm. Okay. Um, I think challenging, reliving some of the past experiences. I believe you had an exercise where we would have to go back in the past and, events that we encountered and how those were shaping how we are today, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think it was quite hard to relive that, because it really meant having to even physically relive that. Of course, the idea was that we were supposed to pivot and recreate those emotions within our bodies, but reliving a memory, it's as if you're experiencing that situation again.
Mhm.
So just even that principle, because it's something I now apply a lot. It's a very difficult thing to do because you have to go back into the past and relive those very somewhat traumatic experiences. So that was quite a challenge. Um, yeah, I think that was one of the main challenges. But like I said, really speaking about the past really got me to what was very helpful, really got me to understand how my past has been influencing my future and how I come up with goals and my strategy on life and all of that. And you've got all the power once you know where you are, you're able to navigate from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, again, for anyone who's listening, sorry, um, we can be driven by our unconscious or subconscious. One second, I need to just pause the recording. I don't know why my.
Are
Hmm.
you okay? What happened?
Oh,
Sorry, sorry.
I've just been sitting there with, hang on. All right. So we decided to pause, and because I had a coughing fit. Anyway, we're back. But to briefly touch on what you were saying, um,
Yeah.
we often feel like if we visit the past because it's painful, that it'll sort of overwhelm us. But actually, those are things that we can just like methodically and with the safety of the present revisit and then get the learning. Because once you get the learning, you can release it and move forward. But it's funny, like your nervous system keeps like keeps being caught on
Yes.
something from the past. Um, yeah, it's a really important process, and it's also layers. Like that is work that I still do now. And as I challenge myself, as you continue to challenge yourself and grow, these little things will come up, and we go, oh, okay, I've got to do that, revisiting the past thing. So it's
Exactly.
a tool I hope that you will keep using as you need to, as you recognize that that's showing up.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. That's right.
Awesome. Okay, and then yeah, what was helpful? Challenging, you said, what was helpful for you in this coaching period?
Okay, there was a couple of things, but I would want to say the most helpful was really having these conversations. What I think the essence of the coaching thing was I was always accountable.
Mm.
There was someone to be I knew someone was there that had to question my every action in the past week, because of course would update each other what I'd done. And usually when you're on your own, you kind of let things go, you overlook it, you get lazy, you procrastinate. So having you constantly reminding me, because these are my goals, right?
Mhm.
Constantly reminding me, but don't forget, this is what you said, this is a promise you made to yourself.
Mm.
So that was extremely helpful in really, like I said, materializing all those things I always had in my mind, saying I wanted to do and be. It was really helping me to make those micro movements towards those results.
Mhm.
So I think that was extremely helpful and has been, I think, consistently throughout our coaching sessions.
Yeah, yeah. And I have my own coach as well because I need the exact support. Just having someone who's really got your back, really wants you to succeed, and
Yes,
there sometimes to challenge you, and then there's sometimes to celebrate with you.
yes,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, so I believe in coaching, so I have my coach as well. So, yeah, that's awesome. All right, so is there anything, if you look back over our coaching period, this last one, um, were there any like little moments of clarity that you can recall, or when the penny dropped, something that shifted for you in particular?
Mm, mm, mm. Whew. Let me see which one I would love to talk about first. I think I've got to say, it had to be, like I said, for me, this issue of embodying the
Mm,
version of ourselves that we want to be now is extremely important. I think we had a session where we you had me do a visualization, and it was about the ideal as version of me, where I saw myself, I think, in a certain number of years, and what was my ideal surrounding, my ideal circumstance. And and I mean, it's something I feel like you could probably do on your own, but
mm,
I think that the way that you guided me through that really reminded me, like I said, I could feel the version of myself.
mm,
And I think that encapsulates the whole process that we're doing, is that how do we, work towards being that aspect on a day-to-day basis? How do we work towards getting that feeling? Essentially, we can conjure those feelings up every day, right? But the actions that um, coincide with that kind of identity need to be practiced on a day-to-day basis. So
yeah.
it's almost like the idea of, you're working backwards. You know where you want to be by X amount of time or in an X amount of, years, and you are trying to embody that mentally, physically, spiritually, in every aspect of your life.
Mm,
So I think that was when because I think as humans, of course, we've got a tendency to look in the past and take a lot of time, which I think is important. And an important aspect to being wholesome is always recognize where you come from. But
mm,
that very proactive action of embodying the future aspect of yourself is extremely important.
yeah.
So, and like you said, there are certain people, and I think that's something I discovered with you. You really have this talent and this way, even in our session of talking into these points and coming back to, the most important aspect of, you made a commitment to this version of yourself, and we're going to do what we can to embody that as much as possible through those small those actions.
Yeah.
So I think that was a very powerful session for me when we did that.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's good
Yeah.
to hear you say that because I I really feel that there is a time and a place for a kind of a transformational retreat, a week spent somewhere, a weekend. There's definitely a benefit to it. But what I particularly love about the coaching process and what you've described is actually this, it's like the 1% that you do every day that accumulates over time. And it's very hard for the ego to like that. Like the ego has to really drop
Yeah.
because it's hard to record until or see the shift like for quite some time, and then bam, then it kind of happens. But you don't see it building. We only feel it when we see the results. So it's easy to
Results.
lose faith when you're just doing
Yes.
little 1% every day. That's certainly been my experience. So it's
100%.
you've described the same kind of phenomena there. Um,
Yes.
okay, so just a final question for you is just for someone who is maybe interested in the coaching process, wants to make a career shift or some kind of change, what would you say to that person who's on the fence about getting a coach or working with me?
Okay. Um, well, firstly, I understand um, that there's possibly a lot of people that thought the same thing I thought initially, that a life coach is reserved for, those alpha males and those corporate C-level, executives in huge companies and people who have to dish out loads and loads of money. I think that was probably something I was very pleasantly surprised about with this experience.
Hmm.
If I could do, if I had, if I could rule the world for one day, I would say everybody needs a life coach, to be very honest. Um, like I rightfully said, earlier said, you know, looking back on your past is very important, but we need to sort of transform or alchemize your past experience by saying, okay, this is what I went through, but how does that now inform my way going forward? All right. So I think it's a two-part thing. Take some time to look at your past, understand it, know where you came from, know who you are, and then also equally take as much time into seeing how that can be then transformed for going forward. So don't feel like it's something that is far off, that is reserved for certain people. It's a very important commitment to, make these promises to yourself. And yeah, I would really encourage someone who just basically cares about themselves. It's a very big gesture of self-care, I would say. The same way you go and, once a month you get your nails done or, you get your treatment, whatever it might be. I think this is a really important facet of establishing how I'm going to go forward with life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely encourage anyone, obviously do your research, find someone that is compatible. I think BB really for me was amazing to begin with, right from the beginning. I really saw how this, you are very intentional and you are trained for this in terms of how to get someone to tap into that inner wisdom. So I would definitely encourage someone who's interested, give it a go. Especially if you see it's an opportunity that it's a free coaching session or anything like that, I would say jump into it, get a feel of it, and yeah, give it a go.
Yeah. Thank you. And again, anyone watching, anybody can book in a call with me, just a free chat to see where they're at, what they're really wanting, and if we're a good fit. Like you say, I'm a big believer as well in chemistry, and just we attract people who kind of like ourselves, uh,
Yeah,
who are like ourselves. So we can see ourselves in the other. I can see me in you. You can see you in me. Um,
yes,
and it's such a to me it's such a beautiful relationship to coach somebody and
yes, yes,
being able to just sit and have a chat and a call is like, okay, is there a vibe here? Is this cool? And sometimes I have sat with people and it doesn't work, and that's great. It's like there's so many people out there, so many coaches, and it must be
of
that way.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Nyasha,
yeah.
so I've still got this thing in my throat, but Thank you again for taking the time for sharing your experience so that hopefully, others feel like they have the bravery and the courage to step forward and do something that's ultimately going to serve them. And we'll be working together some more as the year goes on. So I'm
Of
looking forward.
course.
And have a beautiful weekend and goodbye for now.
You too. Thank you, baby, as always. Have a
Cool.
good one.
Bye bye.
Bye.